Hi, I'm Amber, and this is Amber's Corner, and welcome back to my channel. Okay, that was too long. I'm sorry about that. Anyway, let's hop into it. This story time takes place when I was in elementary school, and this was like my very first elementary school. If y'all know, I'm told stories about my first one, and I'm gonna tell y'all again. When I got to like my second middle school, my elementary school, I had started going through like a lot of stuff. Like, when I got to that school, things that happened in that school impacted me a little bit harder because of things that were going on within me. And when I was at this other school, I was more carefree, more lax, more free-spirited. I still am like that. Like, you know, all the other girls, I was a little bit bigger. I had a little bit more, and I just didn't know how to deal with it. And it was being noticed by people, by boys. Look at myself differently because of how everybody else was looking at me. And so when I got to my second elementary school, like, you know, because I noticed that everybody else noticed me, when they started to say stuff to me, it started to play with me, and it impacted me a lot harder than it probably should have. But let's not play. I was already being bullied at my first one. I wouldn't say what I was going through that was bullying, because I think that was like with, you know, like a little tease in here. That's pretty much what everybody go through in school. So that was like that's not gonna handle. But back then I didn't care as much about it because I didn't care, because you couldn't tell me back then that I wasn't a cutie. A cutie. You couldn't tell me. Anyway, so yeah, this story time about time. Girl, they shut the whole computer like, cause some folk got caught watching some R-rated videos or pictures, looking at some R-rated pictures of some things they wasn't supposed to be looking at, and they had to shut down the computer lab and do a whole week. So let's go back to when I was in elementary school, about 5th grade. And if y'all know, I had did a little detour, and my path didn't go quite what we thought it was gonna go. If you know a little bit about me, my story. If you don't watch my past videos, you'll figure it out. My path didn't go quite as I had expected it to. I took a little detour off, and I had to go to another elementary school and repeat the year over again. But that's another story for another day, and I will tell you that story. But yeah, and so my 5th grade year, and at this point computers had started to impact on the schools, as far as like it was becoming a thing. Like they was basically telling us that in a little while, computers are going to be how you do most of your schoolwork, or how you take major tests like standardized tests, EOCTs, benchmarks, you know, how you take the CRCT test in a little while. That'll be how you do it. So we're preparing you now, because by the time it happens, you'll be well into middle school and high school when it starts to take full effect. And they were right, preparing us early, because we would need that in the middle school too. And middle school was computer heavy, like very computer heavy, and high school is too. If you don't know, you probably know, but it's very computer heavy. And so at this point, like, they was preparing us, and we had started to take like a lot of tests, a lot of important tests on there. Pre-tests is like we were preparing, like we was getting prepared to take the CRCT test to head into middle school. And you know, if you know what the CRCT test is, that's a major test, and that's how you basically get promoted or demoted. And we would take like practice tests for CRCT tests on the benchmark test. You know, all that stuff would be on there, like where are we tests, you know what I mean? Like that's what the benchmark is. You know, the benchmark is like just to see where you are, what you need to work a little bit more on, what the teacher need to focus on in the sense of where you are as far as learning, as far as math, reading, language arts, social studies, science. Y'all know the basics. Anyway, see what you need to work on. And so at this point, that was like really heavy. And one of the main programs that we were on at this time was called Success Maker, and it was like basically like a career aptitude test. And we would like do like basic class for like math, whatever we needed to work on. That would be a time that we would work on. It's like maybe my main thing was math and reading at this point. You know, I couldn't do that stuff that well. Reading became one of my strong suits later, but math, it would be a little while before that was my strong suit. I mean, a long while before that was my strong suit. And so, you know, those tests, that had become like a good part of our daily routine. Now, each class was assigned a different time to go to the computer lab, and I think lunch was at like 12 o'clock in the afternoon, maybe 11 o'clock in the afternoon. And so our time to go to the computer lab was between that lunch and that recess time. So like we would go after lunch before recess, and recess would be like the last thing we do today to get us out and, you know, jump and get our blood flowing, and then we come back in class, finish up whatever we had to do, and then head on home for the day. And of course, snack time, my favorite time, still my favorite time. Probably wish I need to let off a little bit. Anyway, but yeah, and so that would be our time. Like I said, each teacher had an assigned time to go into the computer lab. This is gonna play a big part in how this works out. And so they would log how, for that hour that we was in the computer lab, they logged us. So we all had assigned computers that we would work on. So like I think it was like maybe 40, 50 computers in that computer lab, and it wasn't very big. And we were all assigned to the computer lab. Now, the computer that you was on was a computer that you was gonna be on for the entire year, unless something happened to the computer. And then in that time you would be stationed. You would be like assigned a new computer until your computer was fixed, or for just the rest of the year period, just depending on how you did. Sometimes it was permanently. If they were in the movie, it was permanently. And so, and the only, like, cause we had IDs and stuff like that we used to get onto our computer, and they gave us those, and we was responsible for, and the only they gave us those then was because when we got in middle school, we were gonna have IDs and numbers that we had to use in middle school for like certain, like to gain access to computers, to eat lunch, to just a variety of things we were gonna need that for in middle school. So it was preparing us then for that then later. And so like I said, you know, and my teacher was really cool. She was, no, I'm not gonna say she was really cool. She was alright. You know, put her there. She alright. I remember this teacher. She alright. Anyway, my teacher, I think most teachers like this, but at this time my teacher was like really big. You know, she was like, she was one teacher that she liked to have fun while she learned, and so she always tried to make learning for us fun. And so her biggest thing was like, okay, we gonna get on the computer, and I'm gonna make sure they do what they supposed to do, but they gonna have a little fun in the meantime. So it's like, y'all, I don't know if y'all remember, but like back then they had like this program set up for like the teachers. Like my teacher had like a computer at the front of the classroom that was hers, and that was the teacher's computer. And like, they had like this like little program set up on the computer, and it was like a takeover software or something like that. And so basically, like if she go into this program, she had access to every computer in the room, like if say like you was like on your computer, you were having trouble, she could take over your screen from her computer and fix whatever the problem was, or she did like that a couple times. She took over my screen and helped me with whatever I need to help with or whatever. And all you had to do was raise your hand and say, I'm having trouble with such and such. And she said, okay, let me see from my computer. And she would like pause your screen, like take control of your screen and work on whatever she need to work on from that set screen from her computer. And so she could basically do that to the whole computer lab. Like she could take over the whole computer lab, and like she would show us things and stuff like that, or demonstrate things that we had to do. And so, and she go see our monitors from her monitor. So like if we was on something that we was supposed to do, and she could see like computer 13, you're not on what you're supposed to be on, so I need you to get on there and you can do this when you're done. And so that was her thing too. She had like a list of websites up on the board that she wrote up, that she said, look, y'all have to do this first, but when y'all done, any of these websites y'all can go to and do. And she had like a whole bunch of websites for girls, websites for boys, websites that all of us like do with words, with reading, with math. So she had like a whole bunch of basketball game for math problems. So like she had like a whole bunch of that stuff up there for us to be able to go to when we were done with our work. So the computer I set like a little small circle table, like a round table, and the computer monitor was like around. It was like 4 or 5 of them. And so I was at computer. Alvin, which was the main student I'm about to be talking about in this story, he was at computer 13. Then his friend Porkchop was at computer 14. Then there was 15, which was empty. And then right here at 11 was the special needs student. Now my teacher did have an aide, but like she wasn't a teacher's aide, she was a student aide. And so her job was basically come in and help the special needs student. Well, because I was having trouble anytime we would partner off with different groups, I would always get put in that group so she could help me also. Just so you know, a little backstory. Anyway, so this particular day we all in the classroom, we're working on Success Maker. And Alvin and Pork Chop are having a little more fun than everybody else is having on the computer. Now I'll admit to you, we had been here for about 30 minutes or to an hour, so most people were like wrapping up the remainder of their Success Maker assignments, and they were getting on games, stuff like that. And I know because I was watching. People were basically finishing up and getting done. And I think me and the special needs students, we still had like a little ways to go, but we was almost done. Like, we wasn't done, but we was almost done. And so we would be done in a little while. But Alvin and Pork Chop, they was like having the whole lot. And I knew that wasn't done because my teacher kept saying, you know, y'all finish up what y'all doing. When y'all done, y'all can do whatever y'all want to. Well, they had been doing it for a few minutes. About 30 minutes they had been doing it. And so my teacher would go over to the computer and just look at that screen. Well, in time before she could get there, he'd see her. And so he could just exit out of whatever she was doing. Whatever he was doing. And act like he was working like a good student. Eventually, my teacher got distracted with other students, so she couldn't really pay attention to him anymore. So the teacher's aide or the student's aide was watching them. And she would put them with us because they didn't know how to act when they sat together and they were sitting together. So she would always put them with us so that she could keep an eye on them. Well, she was doing it. She was watching them. And so she noticed and she was like, are y'all done yet? Are y'all done? They say, no, we still got a little ways to go. They're like, okay, well, y'all need to do less talking and more working so y'all can play games or whatever. I know y'all don't want to do this all day like that. So, a few minutes go by and they back to doing what they were doing. So she said, okay. So she gets up, because she's sitting in the middle of me and the special needs student. She gets up out of her seat and she just started walking back and forth between me and the special needs student. And she does that for a few minutes. Then she started doing the half circle thing. You know what I mean? She walking, she's slowly working her way around the table. This is what she's doing. But he ain't caught it yet, but he about to. When she started doing that half circle, he catches it. So then she finally makes a complete swoop around the whole table. She don't catch him. So she waited a few minutes and she started doing the same thing over again. He still ain't caught it yet. He ain't paying attention this time because he think he don't got away with it. So then she does a full circle, a full sweep around the table, and she catches him. But right before he could minimize screen, she calls him. And he was about to leave. She said, don't touch it. Leave it alone. Don't touch it. Oh boy started crying. He was bawling. He was caught. I don't know what he was looking at other people, but he was caught. Jack was caught. Caught. She said, don't touch her. She called my teacher. We're gonna call her Miss Shelley. Miss Shelley come over. And she said, look at this. She said, I called him right before he could do it. She said, okay. So she take him and she said, you go over there. You go over there and you sit in that corner in that chair, like a little corner right beside the whiteboard. So I'm go straight there. He was bawling, y'all. He was crying. He caught. So she's looking at. So she called the principal down here. We call her Miss Shu. Mrs. Shu, can I get you down here to the computer lab, 30B, whatever the name of the computer lab, on such and such, on 5th grade hallway. And so Miss Shu come down and Miss Shelley shows her what he had been doing. She said, all right. She said, you know the rules. Write them up and send them to the office, and I'll deal with them. Call his parents or whatever. She said it might be best for you to pack your class up and head on out. So Miss Shu, she waits till everybody leaves. They fix the computer so we can't see what's going on, and she waits till everybody leaves. That was a Wednesday, y'all. For about a week and a half, we could not go into the computer lab. The computer lab was off limits to all students. The principal asked for the log, because I remember, I'm telling y'all, they kept track of which computer was assigned to who at what time. And she knew what time each class was assigned to go to the computer lab. So she knew all this information. This was like written log information. It wasn't hard to come by. And she asked for a list of all the students and the computers they were assigned to, and what time they were assigned to them. And I guess they started checking all the histories of all computers, and they checking off the students assigned to which computers and what the history did. And if it didn't match to what it was supposed to match to, you would get in the car to the office with a write-up, and you was heading on out the door. Goes on for like a week straight. By the time the next week hit, half of my class had been gone. I mean, suspended. Half of it had got so bad. My teacher started condensing us into smaller groups because most of the class was gone. They had been suspended. So I don't remember how long exactly they were suspended. She had condensed us to smaller groups, and we was working in smaller groups. She started to tell us, she said, y'all, she said, I know half y'all confused what's going on. Most of y'all probably know what's going on. She said, basically, some students in this school have been accessing, you know, inappropriate websites on school ground, and we have caught a student doing it. And because we have caught that student doing it, it has led to us checking every computer in that computer lab, and she been given a list of each student's assigned computer and time they been in that computer lab and what they were on, so she knows what y'all know how a history work, don't y'all? I know y'all know how history work. If I'm doing something I'm not supposed to be doing, it'll be right here on my history. You know, y'all know, and y'all know how to clear it. Back then we didn't know nothing about clearing no history out, but y'all know how it works. And they was checking it. And so she said, so, you know, if y'all get called up, it might just be talk, or you might be in trouble. Only you know what you was doing on the computer when you wasn't supposed to be doing it. So if that's the case, I'm sorry, but if you know you weren't doing that, then you good. A good bit of, like, even one of my friends a good bit of students had got suspended. I mean, a good bit, like almost all the class condensed to like those small groups. Like the faster pace would be with my teacher, and the slower pace would be with the aide. You know what I mean? And we were given assignments, and we had to work like that. And it was like another week before we was able to go back into the computer lab. And so finally, my teacher aide brought out. She said it was some inappropriate things, but she said I know about just about every student that probably got interruption. And she was telling me about, she said mine and the special needs students. She said our computer had nothing but, you know, school stuff and what we were supposed to be doing. But she said a couple other people was not so lucky. I said, oh snap. And so anybody that had been, you know, on those sites had been suspended. Their parents had been contacted. They had been rolled up. They had got maybe like a 2-3 day suspension, and they wouldn't know how to come back. Before it was all over with, I'm telling you, like, we was a class of 32, 35 students. Before it was over with, we was a class of 10 students. 10. I'm not kidding. And so, like, after that happened, like, it's a parent, the guard, like, what is it, guardian lock, parental control things, and parental control accesses on our computers. Like, we couldn't venture off and go to inappropriate websites and things that we were not supposed to be on those computers. Like, they had started getting real strict about the computer. Well, you know, as you know, when I got in middle school, we had our ways of hacking and getting into those like websites and stuff like that. Like, especially, I think at this time, MySpace started popping really heavily. Facebook came a little bit later, but like they had started getting really heavy. So we kind of knew how to, you know, trick the system a little bit. I think if it's probably a few ways now how you can do it, but most people nowadays don't even do that. It's called a smartphone. We don't need to do all that nowadays. But back then, you had to get it how you live, boo. That was the time a student got caught watching inappropriate things on the computer lab at school by a teacher's aide. Yes, that was a trip. A lot of people got in trouble. A lot of people got suspended. I mean, it was ridiculous the amount of people that got suspended. I hope y'all know that I'm gonna do like a little update later on, but I'm just gonna get a whole thing in itself. I don't feel like going into right now. But yes, it'll be probably like this for a little while. Then I'll come back later and tell y'all. I forget sometimes that before I knew the people that I know now, I was a lot different. I was a lot more carefree, a lot more free-spirited. And I still am like that, but it's just like a little bit quieter now. And it's not as bold in me, but she's coming back a little bit. But you know, I find her more when I'm around people that I love, people that I'm comfortable around, people that I trust. I find her more than I do when I'm around people that I don't know. So yeah, and I lose sight of that a lot. So yeah, I am gonna do that, and things have been held, and so I'm trying to work through whatever's going on with that, and whatever, you know. So just give me time, work with me, and hope y'all like this video. Hope y'all enjoy it. Comment, like, subscribe, tell me what you think, what you want to hear, and I will do my very best to make it happen for you. And I will see y'all in the next one. Bye.